Clara had never allowed herself the luxury of collapsing, not even when everything seemed to be falling apart. After Davide, her husband, had left one ordinary morning, leaving only a sparse note on the kitchen table, her world had shattered. In that moment, she had understood that the only way to survive was to fight. Every day had become an exercise in resistance, resisting loneliness, fatigue, the judgment of others. With Matteo, her 5-year-old son, Clara had found the strength not to give up. She watched him sleep and promised herself that she would do everything to offer him a dignified life, even if he had nothing left. They lived with the bare minimum, saving on everything. She cut the bread into thin slices to make it last longer, turned off the lights whenever possible, sewed torn clothes by hand. But every day was more difficult. In the morning, she woke up before dawn, still tired from the few hours of sleep. She prepared breakfast for Matteo, a cup of warm milk with some stale bread, and walked him to school, even in the rain. Then she went back inside, turned on her computer, and began the endless process of sending out resumes. Every interview seemed to promise something, but it always ended the same way. We'll get back to you. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. One morning, as she walked with her shoulders hunched from the cold and despair, she passed a neighborhood bar. It was small, modest, with cream-colored curtains and the smell of coffee that spread to the street. In the window was a handwritten sign, "Barista Wanted, even first time." Clara stopped, stared at it for a few seconds, then took a deep breath and went in. The place was warm and welcoming, with dark wood tables, a noisy coffee machine, and walls covered with photos of smiling customers. Behind the counter was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. His name was Sergio. He watched her for a moment, then asked, "Can I help you?" Clara, her hands shaking with emotion and tiredness, explained everything. That she was alone, that she was looking for a job with all her strength, that she was a quick learner, and that she didn't back down from anything. Sergio remained silent for a few seconds, then held out his hand. "Okay, start tomorrow." She stood still, as if she needed a few moments to accept that it wasn't a joke. Then, in a thin voice, she managed to say only, "Thank you." It was the first time in months that someone had reached out to her. At that moment, in that small cafe smelling of coffee, Clara felt that perhaps something was finally changing. The first few days were a whirlwind of emotions. She was afraid she wouldn't be up to par, but every time she thought about giving up, the image of Matteo brought her back up. She learned quickly, listened, observed, and worked hard without ever complaining. Sergio watched her in silence, noting the dedication with which she approached every task, from cleaning tables to serving customers with a smile that hid all her tiredness. But not everyone welcomed her. Marta, the evening shift manager, was a rigid and distrustful woman. She had taken an immediate dislike to Clara and made her feel the weight of every little mistake. It was enough for her to forget to reorder a tray or to make a mistake in marking a receipt to trigger a biting criticism. Clara tried to ignore her, but she felt the constant weight of the judgment. A few weeks later, one evening after closing, Sergio noticed that some money was missing from the register. It wasn't a huge amount, but enough to raise concerns. Marta didn't hesitate for a moment. "I told you to be careful. Clara has financial problems. She wouldn't be the first to give in to the temptation to steal." Clara felt herself dying inside. "I never took anything," she said in a trembling voice. but her words seemed to fall on deaf ears. It was as if her honesty was worthless, as if her daily toil had never existed. Sergio said, annoyed, "There are cameras. I will soon know the truth." The two frightened women nodded, and the matter was forgotten for a moment. The following days were the most difficult of Clara's life. Every movement, every gesture seemed observed and judged. Her colleagues, without saying anything, had begun to treat her coldly. The customers sensed the tense air, and some looked at her with curiosity or suspicion. Clara returned home every evening with heavy legs, a head full of thoughts and eyes full of tears that she held back only so as not to worry Matteo. Then one morning, Sergio called her into the back room. He had the tablet with the recordings in his hand. With a dark look, he said to her, "I want you to see this." The video showed Marta, thinking she was alone, opening the cash drawer, taking out some bills and putting them in her apron pocket. Clara remained still, speechless. Sergio closed the video and said to her, "I'm sorry I didn't believe you right away. I owe you an apology." The next day, Marta was summoned and fired. She tried to deny it, but the images were unmistakable. Clara thought that everything would end there, with justice restored. But she didn't expect what happened next. Sergio, with a more serious tone than usual, called her into his office. "Clara, not only have you proven yourself honest, but you have endured all this with dignity and strength. I would like to offer you the role of bar manager. You have my trust and everyone's." Clara burst into tears. They were not tears of pain, but of relief, of gratitude. After so long, someone had finally seen who she really was. In the months that followed, Clara immersed herself in her new role. She organized shifts, listened to her colleagues, improved the efficiency of the service, and proposed initiatives that increased the number of customers. The bar became a more welcoming, more human place. Regular customers began to call her by name, left her thank you notes, and some gave her a flower, a cake, a smile. Even Matteo seemed more serene. He saw her coming home stronger, more confident. One day he said to her, "Mom, you are a champion." And those words were enough to erase months of pain. Clara had faced the shadow of suspicion, the cruelty of prejudice, the deepest loneliness. But she had never given up. She had resisted, and in the end she had been recognized for what she was worth. Now she knew that, whatever happened, she had within her the strength to overcome it. And in her heart, a small flame of hope continued to shine, more alive than ever. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.